Hi there, welcome back to the Kindness Advantage. I am your host, Cindy Rowe, and today is the day I have a guest. So, we're not talking about kindness in 10 minutes or less today, but I am excited for you to meet my friend Niki. Good morning, Niki. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me here today, Cindy. It's great to see you and to be here with your folks.
Wonderful. I am glad we finally get to e-meet, right? We are part of a LinkedIn group of kindness people. I've had a few of them on my podcast in the past, but I am so glad to have you join us this time. Um, give my listeners a little bit of background of who you are and what you do.
Okay, sure. Well, I am running a business called A Better Paradigm, and A Better Paradigm was designed to amplify all of the work that I'm learning still is being done by people around the world to help facilitate more kindness, more courtesy, more caring for other people. And the focus of A Better Paradigm is the workplace. So we're primarily, it's a website, abetterparadigm.com. And what we have is a free directory for people who have these kinds of services to help bring kindness and compassion into company practices to improve their workplace culture. And the resource is available to anyone who starts to hear about this and says, gee, how do I make it happen? So, and there are other components to abetterparadigm.com, but primarily it's that free directory. And I do a newsletter every week called Niki's Notes, which is really about activating your best self in a 360-degree way. So it's bring your best self to work, bring your best self to everything you do, and it's all kinds of tips and techniques and new research and everything that makes you a better person.
Wow, that's incredible. So, all in one location, you can find out all these amazing resources for, amplifying kindness in the workplace, which is exactly what I like to talk to audiences about. Why is it so important that we get this information in front of people?
I think there are lots of reasons. We can spend 3 days talking about that and still have more to talk about. But I think it's just a confluence of things that are making many of us realize that the things that were basic at one point in our species' existence, community, communication, looking and caring for others, I think we've gotten off track. And I think that while it's awesome that people can focus on themselves and potentiate, I think we've kind of lost track of being a part of a society and community. So I think it's really important. I think many of us are just waking up to somebody's got to do something because we're not going to recognize that without help.
Yeah. What prompted you to start this better paradigm?
It was a combination of things. I run a digital marketing agency. That's been my primary business for 25 years. And I have an awesome team. And the better they got at what they did, the less time I needed to spend day to day in the business. And I started to look around at society, and I started Niki's Notes, my newsletter, several years ago as part of a consulting business I was doing to help people get unstuck, business people, when they hit a challenge. And Niki's Notes was an offshoot of that. But then I realized I really liked writing the newsletter, but it didn't have a strong foundation or a purpose. It was kind of scattered. And so I started working with a coach who, her name's Terry Maxwell. She runs Shiftco, and her business is part of this ecosphere. She helps people who are conscious leaders build profitable businesses. So her premise is that you don't have to be doing this just for the good and not making money, because if you're not making money, you can't continue doing what you do. So Terry worked with me as a coach to help me see that I could develop a better paradigm as a platform for several of the things I wanted to do. And Niki's Notes was just a part of that, but that's the directory grew out of that. The idea of the directory is like, wow, this is something that we can do, and to create a place for people to turn to and say, oh, if I want to do this, how do I do it? How do I bring this into my workplace culture? And there's also, I want to shout out another woman. Part of why I was really excited to come here today is, in addition to you and I being in that group, there are lots of other people in that kindness group. And then it's exponential. There's so many people doing work in this space. So one of them is Christy Trader, and she's actually doing something that takes the idea that I had for a better paradigm, but I was kind of just doing it on the side. She's just marshaled all of these people, all of these resources. My hat tip to her. She's created something that's coming out called Kindness Clearinghouse. And it's similar but much broader than what A Better Paradigm was about. So I think we're going to see a lot about that in the coming months, and many of us are going to want to tap into that and really amplify what she and others are doing there. So that's very cool.
Yeah, I've actually been on a couple of brainstorming sessions with Christy, and she blows my mind. Like exactly what you said, hats off to her, because this is a huge undertaking, and her passion for it is just, it's really exciting. So I truly believe this is going to be something amazing, and people will want to hop in and hop on for this, because it will make some major waves, I think, and
I think
in a lot of different communities.
Yeah, she's got the momentum to really take this forward. And there's another group that is doing work in this space that I wanted to mention. They're called changingwork.org. So it's 3 partners, and it's a newer platform. They originally were trying to attract the consultants, the coaches, et cetera, and to bring together a community that way. They're also trying to make leadership in companies aware that we need to have change, and that change in corporate culture. Kindness isn't a flaw. Kindness isn't a weakness. Kindness is a power. Kindness is a power tool. But people need to really understand the science and the data behind why having these more conscious companies are going to be better for the employees, and therefore the business owners and the corporate stakeholders, than these command and control businesses that are just not lasting.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm like, speechless, because that's exactly what I talk about. Like, it is a superpower. It is not, soft or weak. It is a strength, and having kindness in your leadership is really a strategic advantage, honestly, and people just need to see it. And that way, having the research behind it that people are doing is just, it is actually mind-blowing. I don't know if you had heard my story, Niki, but 10 years ago, I was in a really, really dark spot, and you could probably say depression. And I had a friend tell me to do an act of kindness, which I thought was kind of silly, right? But I did it, and then I felt a little bit better. But my 40th birthday was coming up, and I'm like, you know what? I want to do an act of kindness every day for my birthday month to celebrate my 40th. That activity completely changed my life, and I didn't realize it back then. It was what happened over the course of the years, right? It became a core value of mine. And then when I had time to reflect, I was like, wow, this is how I built my business, and people need to know about this. And then I started Googling, right? Like kindness and research and all that stuff. And I found out like all this incredible research that has already been taking place, and basically learned that the reason my life changed around in that month was because I was so focused on doing good for others. It was helping me with my stress levels, my depression, all the things. Like, it was science. It was science. It was not, that's why I felt better, is because of science. And when you know that, and you can translate it to, building a business or being a leader, right? You can do some really powerful things and make some major changes. So yeah, it's getting that in front of the people that need to hear it is the hard part.
Yeah, and helping people to understand that the science and the data behind this. And on A Better Paradigm, we have lots of resources that point to the data. This isn't just a bunch of people who are nice, and that's another hot button. It's not about being nice, it's about being good. It's about doing the right thing. It's about thinking beyond yourself the benefit of others, because it will come back to you. And you can call that karma, you can call it all kinds of things, but in reality, it's just we're learning a lot more about the energy that makes humans, and we're all connected, and the quicker we realize that, the better off we're all going to be.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned it earlier too, is that let's get back to kind of the values that we had years ago, right? And I mean, I think generally the people think they're kind, but I mean, I would probably say what 95, 98% of the people are just not out there to do harm on others. We're doing the best we can, but kindness matters most like in stressful situations and intense situations. And we all know how the workplaces are now, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
People are scared. Are they going to have a job tomorrow? Are they, where's the company going? There's so many different pressures, or they're overworked because they're short staffed, or there's people in positions that should not be in the positions because they're short staffed. And it's in those moments that kindness really takes a lot of courage and strength. And that's the difference maker, right? Is, are you kind in those unkind, challenging situations? And that's what I'm talking about, like that's the muscle we need to build, not just when we're out shopping, right? Although that is an interesting point, because I typically like to hold open the door and smile, and people are like shocked. And I'm like, that needs to change.
Everybody's so entrenched in their own stress, and let me rephrase. Many people are entrenched in their own stress and what's going on, and they're totally valid. But when you have, and I've had many challenges in my life, and if you at some other point, or if you look at my history, you'll see there have been some real things that have happened. But what I've learned through all of that is, when you're under the most pressure, if you can just take a few deep breaths and reframe it. Think about something you are grateful for, talking about rewiring. Think about something that is going well, something that you want to recognize, and it helps you elevate your energy. It helps you elevate your vibration. And if we could all learn to do that when we're under the stresses that we're under, we transform into the best version of ourselves. And then we're able to share that with others and help them come out of whatever stresses they have. Some things are bigger than others. Death, illness. I'm not talking about pretending that those things aren't horrible. Right. But I am saying, with everyday stress, something didn't go your way. You expected a client to do X and they did Y, and you get frustrated. Don't bother getting frustrated. Don't bother falling into that energy. Think about all the other things that are going well, because it helps you stay positive in a realistic way, not in a Pollyanna way, but in a realistic way, a strength way. It's a strength. It's a strength. I think that for so long, business was run by people who were all about the money. And that was the driver, and because that was the driver, that made everything okay. It's just business. And now we've got so many more of us saying, hey, I'm a very successful business person, and I've done it completely differently. And I've put people first, and I've learned about the people who report to me directly as people and what's important to them. And we work together, and it's not the leader doing for the others and nothing coming back. It's like, when you help people as individuals, then they help you lead the way you need to lead. And there's so many great examples of people who are leading in these new and improved ways that it's hard to ignore. And those of us who are doing it want to help others see, this is quantifiably better. Your business is going to be more profitable. Your people are going to stay longer. You're going to have better retention of clients. It all feeds itself.
Yeah. And when you're trying to recruit and hire people, when you have your culture as, compassionate, kindness, empathy, you're going to attract the right people.
Mhm.
And it's going to be, you're going to get good people in your team that are going to help support your values and your mission. And when they think about your company, they're going to think about those things, not, nastiness. And same thing when you're trying to find clients,
Mhm.
I'm known in my community as the kindness queen. I don't really like it, but people will come to me, um, because of that value, right?
Mhm.
And want to learn more about my services. Like you, I don't know if you do this, but I'm also a marketing, I own a marketing company. Um, I have for, I think this is going on my 8th year, I think. I lose track.
I
Um,
know, it's a blur.
but yeah, so that's just one way that, if that's a value of theirs and they see that in me, that's who they'd rather work with, right? And or at least get to know about my services and how we can work together. But and the reason I don't like being called the kindness queen, let me
Yeah,
flip
I
that.
want to hear that.
It's great, but we all have bad days, and I'm still human. And so when you're out in public, and let's say I'm not having a great day, and maybe I'm not cheerful and smiling, um, and I get caught, right? Then I just feel like I've let people down. So it's a lot of pressure, and I don't like to be inauthentic. Um, I want to be who I am, and I want to be me when I'm sad or upset, or I want to be that person. So when you have that kindness queen title,
Mhm.
I feel like it's hard to be me sometimes. But this is what I've learned is, and this is took 10 years and I'm still learning, right? I, even if I mess up and I might say the wrong thing, or maybe I was snippy or my tone was off because I was having a sad day or a bad day, I recognize it and I can
Mhm.
go back and, be vulnerable and say, you know what, that was not the right thing I said. I apologize. And people can tell that I'm real and they believe me that I was not, in the right mind, and
Right.
they'll accept that. Um, 10 years ago, I would have been like, that's their problem. I don't
Mhm.
care. So now I'm more aware and I want to be better, and I'm okay if I'm not okay. And it's not like I don't go out when I'm having a bad day. If I need to go to the store, I gotta go to the store. But, I almost want to wear a hat or something like not
Yeah.
today.
Neon sign, not today.
But that's it again. And what I like to tell people is that, we are all human. So we're all going to make mistakes. We are all going to have
Yeah,
those
it's
things
not
that
about
we
being
do.
perfect. It's not about
Exactly.
being, that's not attainable. But
No.
you hit on something that I think is really key to all of this. I think that people need to learn two things in combination. I think people need to be more self-aware and be aware of their impact on others.
Yeah.
Because with that combination, you can go back and you can say to somebody, hey, you know what, I was thinking about that and I think I might have misspoke, or I think I saw a nano expression there. I think I upset you. Can we talk about it? And
Yeah.
that's the community spirit. That's the idea of society and working together. It's not all about it. I think we need to come to some place where there's a happy medium between being the strength of the individual and the strength of community, because we're all better when we're surrounding ourselves with the people who help us potentiate, and in turn we help them potentiate too.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on point. So, a better paradigm, you said that the resources are free, right?
Yes,
Anybody
yes.
can go there, find out. What if somebody's listening and they believe they are a resource that isn't listed? Can they be listed?
Oh yeah. So Natalie Lorenzo is the editor of A Better Paradigm. The way it looks, the way it feels, that she's the person behind that, and she has a team of people who will update the website. So if someone submits a form, it takes I don't even think it takes 2 minutes to submit the form. We ask for a little bit of information, and then the team goes out and they research the submission to make sure it aligns, and most of the time they do. And then it goes live. It's very, very fast.
Cool. All right. And then you said that you had the Niki's notes.
Mhm.
And can somebody submit to have something put in that, or is that just your
Oh, no, I would love that.
findings, or
When people help me do what I'm doing, it makes it so much easier. There's so much great work going on. So a lot of times people will recommend. So for example, another person that's very active in this space is Jenny Haas, Haase. And she had introduced us to Brad Aronson, who wrote a book called Humankind. If I hadn't talked with Jenny, I wouldn't have known about Brad's book. I wound up giving away copies of Brad's book to my readers because I thought it was so cool. So yeah, when people, if they take a look at Niki's notes, I'd love if they would subscribe. But the idea is if you see things in there that resonate, tell me about it. Tell me more. Tell me about data that you found or research that you've seen. Point me in the right direction, because I'm all about spreading the word that having a kinder culture is business positive.
yeah, I love it. I love the work that you're doing. So can people actually work with you, or like how do you how does a better paradigm fit in your business model as getting paid to do the good work?
Well, actually, right now, total transparency, we've a little bit put a pause on a better paradigm, because the more I learned about what others are doing that I want to amplify, the more I see that I don't want to be duplicative.
Okay.
And again, what Christy's doing, it's Kindness Clearinghouse, that's all encompassing. A better paradigm was focused on the workplace, but so is changing work. So I'm not resource heavy, right? So I'm looking what others are doing, and then we're going to readjust a better paradigm so we can fit and fill a gap that may exist. And in the meantime, we're supporting everybody else who's doing what they're doing. I don't need to monetize a better paradigm. I have other resources. I'm very, very fortunate. I had, as I mentioned, my life was very hard at the beginning. Not going to go into it now because anybody can go find out about it. If you do an AI search, you'll find out all kinds of things I'm sharing in other places. But the point is, I worked really hard to decide what I wanted my life to be and how I wanted to contribute. So I feel very fortunate. So I don't need to monetize a better paradigm because I've got other avenues for helping me with that.
Perfect. Well, I love even just what you said, that shows your true heart, is that you are doing this work, and now you're putting a pause on it because of what others are creating, and you want to help build that up, and not necessarily compete, but you don't want to duplicate efforts. And that's kindness in action right there, to be honest.
I didn't think of it that way, but I agree with you. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
I love that. So how can my listeners find you and connect with you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. If you look for me as Veronica Fielding, you'll find me. And my nickname is Niki. Everybody calls me Niki, so that's me. If you find me either way, that's me. And a better paradigm is another way to find me. And this has been a really great conversation. It was very natural.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit more about you and the wonderful work that you do, and honestly backing up the work that I do, right? I love that, and we need more of this in the workplace, because really at the end of the day, we're all working with humans, right?
Yeah,
At the end of the day. And we need to know how to work well with each other. And just like you said, the energy that we have, like, it really flows out. So it's how you're coming to work, it's how you're treating other people, it's how you're responding, to things that are happening. And there needs to be a positive shift. So, Well, I appreciate your time. I will put all your contact information in the show notes so people can find you easily.
Thank
Um,
you.
and thank you so much, Niki. It was a pleasure to have you on, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Right back at you.
All right. And like I end every podcast, together we create waves of change through kindness. Thanks for joining us.